Boldwood presents The Girl in the Window, written by Diana Wilkinson and read by Penelope Rawlins. Chapter 1. I can't wait to be settled in the corner of Angelo's, my favorite cafe in all the world. It's nothing to do with the ambience, or even the owner's effusive personality. It's all to do with location. Although the Robusta coffee is strong and sends my mind skyrocketing, it sets me up for the day. I'm a real coffee addict. I always come first thing in the morning, as I have a noise phobia. I crave silence. It's what I know best, and I'm only really comfortable in quiet places. If coffee was served alongside books, I'd probably spend all day in a library. When I first found Angelo's, I didn't know that the silence and addictive coffee might soon not be the most important reasons for being here. Things changed pretty quickly. It's exactly 7:30 a.m., and the doors are already open. It's usually Angelo himself who waves me in with a sweeping gesture and a tired buongiorno. But today, it's Candy, the perky young waitress dressed in her trademark fluffy pink. She's young. Only 16 or 17, fresh out of school. I plop my bag by the window and follow her up to the counter. This morning, she looks tired, eyes red and puffy, and not yet brimming with energy. I tap my card on the reader, and she nudges the drink my way. She smiles, but her eyes have that faraway look. Soon, I'm snuggling into position in the corner by the window, both hands wrapped around the enormous toasty mug of comfort. My first frothy cappuccino of the day. Heaven. I take a sip before turning my attention outside. This is when my anxiety ratchets up. The scene on the street is like the set of a long-running soap opera with a steady cast of regulars. I've been coming here, same time, same seat, for nearly 3 months now. It's like watching a silent black and white movie where the images are vague and you have to concentrate hard to work out what's going on. I often wonder if people know I'm staring out at them. Maybe someone might also have me in their sights. I could be a seedy voyeur for all they know, although I'd hate to think someone was watching me every day. At least I've got cover. I'm camouflaged behind a huge 3-tier flower planter which is plunked on the pavement directly outside the window. In the summer, it's a riotous sea of color, but today, mid-November, waxen bushes and hardy evergreens provide scant cover. My paranoia at needing camouflage is a bit extreme. Most passers-by don't even look my way. Glancing through the cafe window is the last thing on their minds as they shuffle past. At least my own view, as I look up, is clear enough. I'm especially riveted by the activity in an apartment diagonally across the street, the one above the chemist's shop. It's where a pretty redhead comes and goes. I try to imagine things about her age, her life, her background, things that make her tick. Her name, Mel, Emily, Taylor? I can't decide what might suit her best. At least once a week, a man in cycling gear rings on her front doorbell, 7:45 sharp, after he's padlocked his bike outside the health food shop. She cracks the door, looks up and down the street, and tugs him sharply inside. Sometimes he kisses her lightly on the cheek, nothing slobbery, as she pulls her dressing gown tight. The door is swiftly closed, and he follows her up the stairs. Occasionally, I think she looks my way, picking me out behind the cafe window, but I can't be sure. I've been lost in thought for the past 15 minutes, when the man suddenly appears. I was in danger of relaxing, but no chance now. I watch, bereft, as the couple disappear inside, and I start imagining all sorts of things. My mind ticks quietly, incessantly in my anxious, imaginary world. I could be under the bed again, listening, waiting, and hoping. Hoping for the slightest sound which never comes, and mumbling silent prayers. But I can't tear my eyes away. By the time my second cappuccino arrives, I'm wide awake, on the jittery side of alert. My heart is already racing. Candy's sudden appearance makes me jump. She sets down a second mug in front of me. I always pay for 2 cappuccinos at the same time, and Candy brings the refill when she thinks I'm ready. Although it's a daily ritual, I'm so engrossed in staring across the road that she still manages to give me a start. Enjoy. Thanks. Candy's sparkly name tag, attached to her fluffy pink jumper, is a magnet for conversation. Luckily, like me, she's reticent to chat. She has that sullen teenage, half-asleep look and blushes at the slightest interaction. Despite our age difference, we're not dissimilar. I dread having to make small talk, a skill I've never mastered, whereas Candy's reticence is likely youthful lack of confidence, or her mind is elsewhere. She does know my name, though. By mistake, one morning, I left a copy of the magazine I work for, Echoes of London, on the counter. Next day, when she gave it back, she presented it, opened at my column page, and pointed. "Is that you?" she asked. Her cheeks reddened as she indicated with a long pink nail the portrait head and shoulders shot, her eyes agog. I could have been an A-list celebrity. Bella's not my real name. It's Izzy. But yes, that's me. The agony aunt. I rolled my eyes, assuming she might think it a weird job. Wow, that's amazing. She was about to ask a question, but unwilling to engage, I got up to leave. With a fleeting smile, I left her to it. It hasn't stopped me wondering if she might now regularly read my column, having found out who I am. But I won't be asking. I rarely let myself ask questions. Of anyone. Not just of Candy. My father's words are etched on my soul. Do not ask questions. The devil deals with nosy gossips. Chapter 2. I used to lie under the bed in the dark, petrified of making a noise.
Good night, Izzy.
Dad would rap at the door. He was allowed to talk, but Mum and I had to live like Carmelite nuns. When I was 10, the day after my birthday, Dad handed Mum and me 2 separate pieces of paper. They both said the same thing. I was excited, thinking it was a game. A treasure hunt, perhaps, or a random bit of fun. Forgetting, as a 10-year-old might, that Dad didn't do fun.
From now on, there will be no talking in the house. We will communicate by note. God has advised this is the way forward for our family to live. Father Patrick O'Malley.
Dad was the respected parish priest. We, the exemplary family unit. I think even Mum at first thought it was a joke. But no. For the next 4 years, I crept around, daring only to whisper in Mum's ear when he wasn't around. It didn't stop the smacks, on my backside, and the welts across Mum's face when he heard the slightest sound. Under the rusting bed springs, I built an imaginary den, surrounding myself with books, using torchlight to get lost in my own world. I would wet myself when his feet appeared by the bed. I couldn't breathe, and my whole body trembled. He'd stand there for what seemed like an eternity. Every night, for 4 years and 216 days. Did I get used to it? Did the silence become bearable? I can't even remember, other than it became a way of life. I was allowed to talk at school, although Dad advised against it.
Only if necessary, and only if you're asked a question.
I'd simply nod. And that was it. When the teacher, Mrs. Mallon, asked if I'd anything I'd like to add or ask, I'd shake my head. The worst was the other kids laughing at me. Bony fingers, dirty, ragged nails pointed at me as I slunk across the playground. The only communication I knew was through books, and that's how I learned how other people behaved. Normal people, that is. Then one day, I exploded. Mum tried to calm me down, pleading for me to stop, but I couldn't. I yelled until I was hoarse, raking the skin off the back of my throat. 4+ years of pent-up anger spewed out in that one moment. The one moment that changed our lives forever.
Izzy, it's for our own good that we stay quiet,
Mum cried. Well, it certainly wasn't for our own good. Dad relished our discomfort, and even though Mum had never spoken in the house again after the notes, he still beat her black and blue. He guzzled the communion wine and undid his belt, whipping her like the infidel he said she was. Tegan, my cousin, and my only friend, even now assures me over and over that talking is good. Asking questions is good. Facing up to people is good. It all sounds very good, but all the therapy in the world can't knock back the habits. The fear. I still wet the bed when the terrors return. But Jed has always understood. He listened, horrified at my story. He tells me none of it was my fault. Hugs me close. Nothing I could ever tell him would stop him loving me. You know what? I believed him. Chapter 3. Sometimes I fiddle on my phone while I wait for the cyclist to reappear. Try to take my mind off things. I play Wordle and a series of other wordy games and often WhatsApp with Tegan. But today, for some reason, I'm overly anxious and can only sit and ruminate. I twiddle my hair, go over things. Jed is always on my mind. Last night, he and I had a rare argument. He was glued to the telly, watching gruesome reports on Ukraine. I snapped. "Turn it off! Stop watching it, please!" I yelled over and over. Recently, it's been the only way to get his attention. I rarely raise my voice, but I've been like a pressure cooker, desperate to let off steam. I scare myself when I explode. Jed is quiet, predictable, and amazingly calm when stressed. It's hard to read his moods, though, as his tone is always measured. Although he's certainly not as relaxed as he used to be. His body has stiffened, and he's constantly fidgeting. I'm petrified he's moving away from me, and that he might disappear forever. I fear he no longer loves me. Not the way he once did. He never shouts back, even when I push and push. He tries to understand me and waits patiently for me to calm down. But these days, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. Last night, after my outburst, he didn't even comment. He simply changed channels and was soon concentrating on a Netflix movie.
Is this better?
He asked. Despite all my doubts, he acts in a way to keep me happy. He tells me constantly that he loves me, texts me incessantly, and leaves me loving notes all around the house. Yet I know he's locking me out of a secret world he's inhabiting, a place I'm not supposed to know about. Tegan repeats that I should ask if I have my doubts. Perhaps I will, one day soon. But I'm much too scared to hear the truth. I couldn't live without him. Lost in thought, time passes, and soon it's nearly 8:30, the time the man reappears onto the street. On the dot, he exits the front door. I sit up straighter, my heart racing from both caffeine and nerves. I lean to the right and crane my neck for a better view. He pauses for a moment and waves back up. The lady, whatever her name is, looks lovingly down from the first-floor window. I think it's lovingly, it's hard to be sure, but that's what I'm imagining. Even with my hawk-like vision, the window is small and her features indistinct. She trills her fingers and hovers behind the cloudy glass until the cyclist disappears from view. I start the countdown, set the timer on my smartwatch. 5 minutes, give or take a few seconds, she'll step out onto the street herself. Yep. 34 seconds early. Here she comes. She's more flustered than usual, and her hair more flyaway. The little boy, 2 years old at least, clings tightly to her hand. His light blue blazer and gold-embroidered cap tell me where they're heading. The little Montessori nursery on the other side of town. Then, suddenly, I rock back in horror. Holy shit. Something dreadful has just happened. My mouth gapes and my heart smashes against my chest. Despite the shock, I can't help noticing that the lady doesn't look round. She hasn't realized that her visitor has been hit by a car. Her visitor. My husband. Chapter 4. If Starbucks hadn't closed for a refurb, I'd never have come to Angelo's. If I told Jed that I'd changed my early morning coffee haunt, he'd probably have been more careful. Especially if I told him I sat by the window. He has no idea I'm onto him. I've confided in no one, not even Tegan. I tell her I have doubts about what Jed is up to, but don't embellish on the detail. I guess I should, as she's the only person, apart from Jed, who knows my story. She was the first person to get a word out of me after my parents died. Her dad was Mum's brother, and I moved in with them after Mum's suicide. Tegan was like an older sister, best friend, and mother all rolled into one. Jed doesn't encourage our friendship, wondering why I need her now I've got him. It wasn't your fault. Tegan still repeats the words on a loop. But it was my fault. If I hadn't exploded, started yelling at Dad, telling him I was fed up being quiet, none of it would have happened. I saw red, and all the bottled-up silence exploded in a vent of fury. I can still hear the screams. I trust Tegan with all my heart, but can't bring myself to tell her what I've seen through the cafe window. If I did confide, she'd insist I have it out with Jed and leave him if he's cheating. Move on, she'd say, telling me the world is a big place full of opportunities. It might be for her, but not for me. Jed is my whole world, and I can't imagine life without him. I loved Angelo's when I first came, and soon decided that I might not go back to Starbucks once it reopened. It would have been a toss-up, but then one morning, I saw him. Jed, my husband, parking his bicycle outside the health food shop and sauntering across the street to ring on a doorbell. That first time, I sat bolt upright, thinking I'd maybe pop outside and surprise him. He was supposed to be on the way to work, cycling as always to the station. I watched, half expecting him to push something through the letterbox. Why else would he be there? My heart pumped, and I had to grip the tabletop to steady myself, even though I was sitting down. I came over dizzy, as if suffering from seasickness. The last thing I expected was for him to go inside. But when the lady leaned over and kissed him, was it on the lips? I can't remember clearly that first time, but all I do know is that I began to shake, as if I was having a minor fit. I still wonder what would have happened if I'd gone straight across the road and accosted him then and there. But I'll never know, as it's much too late for that. I sat and stared at the front door. A whole lifetime flashed before my eyes. What was Jed doing? He couldn't be having an affair. Surely not. Not my Jed. After he left, got on his bicycle and presumably rode on to the station. I remember I still couldn't move. A text from him pinged onto my phone shortly after, maybe only 15 minutes later, telling me he had arrived safely at the office. That was the first lie of many, as he could only have been on the train, and his office at King's Cross is 35 minutes away. It was about 2 weeks later that things got even worse. I was at my lookout post, rigid, anxious, and nauseous, waiting for the next episode. I couldn't imagine things getting any worse. But one morning, after he appeared and rang the bell, a little boy hurtled through the front door, squealing. Squealing at Jed. I couldn't hear the noise, but excitement was etched on the boy's little features. He jumped up and down, arms thrown wide. Jed bent down, his skinny cyclist's arms hoisting the lad up in the air. He then swung him round and round, and I can still hear the shrieks of joy in my head. Night after night, I lie in the dark, while Jed gently snores and imagine the laughter. I can see the kisses, feel the hugs. The little lad wouldn't let go, even as Jed tried to prise his fingers free. I'm still not sure which is worse. The fact that Jed might have a mistress, or that he has a son. I'm convinced the boy must be his son, otherwise why would they be so close? I've no idea what to do. I feel as if I'm buried alive, and have been struck dumb like I was all those years ago. Of course, I should ask him what's going on. That's what a normal person would do. But then, I'm not like other people. Chapter 5. My hands fly to my face, slap against my cheeks. An involuntary scream escapes, and I look round the cafe to see if anyone else is looking. There's only Candy and one other customer, the estate agent with the clicky-clacky footwear whom she flirts with every morning. Her eyes light up when he strides across the wooden floorboards in his hard-soled leather brogues, as she coyly teases her hair. But today, I've no interest whatsoever in their interaction. I stare aghast through the window. Jed, my husband, who moments ago remounted his bike and was filtering into the traffic lane, has been catapulted into the air and is now lying on the pavement. Oh my God. He's contorted, lying on his side with his green helmet askew. At least he's moving. He's trying to get up, but despite the effort, can barely raise an arm even a centimetre off the ground. My heart is pumping hard, and I'm glued to the spot, staring at the horror. The soap opera that is my morning viewing has taken a dreadful twist. The predictability of the scene has turned into one of carnage. A small group stop and stare. One lady drops a 4-drink holder and chocolate-coloured liquid explodes from the pavement. I can lip-read her expletive. Candy rushes along the length of the cafe and gasps. "Oh no, Izzy, what happened? Is he okay?" she asks, eyes like saucers. "He's moving," is all I say. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to know if he's okay or not. Perhaps I look like a nurse. "Thank God!" Candy's cheeks are flushed as she hurries out through the open doors onto the street. The small group of onlookers is growing by the second. Everyone wears deep-furrowed, worried masks, mouths downturned. But it's hard not to sense the relief that the misfortune isn't theirs, or that of someone they know. The temperature in the cafe seems to have rocketed, even though the doors are thrown wide, and I'm so hot I can hardly breathe. What if Jed is seriously injured? What if he dies? I can't do anything but watch. There's nothing I can do, and I'm too scared to go out. At least there are lots of people around him. I tried to stand up, but my legs are seriously wobbly and my hand shakes as I carry my coffee cup back to the counter. It's nearly 9 a.m., but there's no one at all now behind the counter. Candy has all but abandoned ship. My insides have turned to liquid, so I scoot to the toilet. My fingers are so damp it's hard to slide the bolt across. I slump onto the toilet seat and hang my head, willing my heart to calm down. I've heard how people, when they witness fatal accidents, need therapy for PTSD. This must be how the trauma starts. I freeze when there's a rattle at the toilet door. "Are you in there, Izzy?" It's Candy. Her voice is shaky, high-pitched, and excited all at the same time. "Yes. Won't be long." My words come out in a hoarse whisper. "Oh, you should see what's happening." Her words are loud and clear, as if she's pressed her lips against the door. She's desperate to share the drama. "Give me a minute," I croak, willing her to go away. I could do with staying here for a couple of hours. I need to play for time, let things calm down. Then I'll sneak off. I don't want to be a witness and have to give a lengthy statement to the police. I can't face questioning in case I crack. Chapter 6. "Shall I get you another coffee?" It's Candy again. It can't have been more than 5 minutes since she last knocked, but I need her to go away. She's desperate for me to engage and share the horror and is screaming through the door. I wonder if she's taken photographs and selfies alongside the glum bystanders to post on Instagram with the caption underneath, "I was there." No doubt she'll embellish the tale for regulars, telling them she was in the thick of it. It'll make a change from sharing the daily tedium of the job. She dreams one day of owning her own cafe, telling us this when Angelo is out of earshot. I hold my breath, willing her to go, when the sudden wail of an ambulance siren breaks through. Even behind the locked toilet door, the noise makes my stomach churn. Candy's footsteps finally retreat, and I guess she's on her way back outside to join the other watchers. An emergency certainly brings people together. I picture the stretcher being carried out, and the cyclist being gingerly lifted up and maneuvered into the vehicle. The blue light will keep flashing until the ambulance moves away. The hee-haw noise, alerting traffic to an emergency, will only carry on if there's a threat to life. A few minutes pass until I brace myself, take a few deep breaths, and slip back out into the cafe. There's quite a queue now for coffee, or more likely for chamomile tea to calm the nerves. The drama has certainly been good for business. Ted, the young guy who usually works alongside Candy, has appeared, and he's heating paninis up in the toaster. Candy is fussing with intent, taking orders with the grim face of a mourner. It's an excuse for all these people to take time out, delay getting to work or facing the challenges of their own lives. I check my watch. It's now 9:10. I need to get cracking. I promised Jed I wouldn't be late popping round to see his mother, as she'll be watching out for me, likely peering through the caked-in grime net curtains of her soon-to-be-demolished mid-terrace death trap. Jed wouldn't be too happy if I didn't call round, and I certainly don't want to upset him. I have to believe he'll be okay. Before I step out onto the street, I watch for another couple of minutes. The siren is flashing, but quietly. There's no warning wail of death. It must be a good sign, surely. I breathe more easily when I think Jed must still be alive. I bet the lady with the little boy will be relieved, that's for sure. Although she probably doesn't know yet, as she never saw what happened. I shiver, pull my collar up and sling my bag over my shoulder, twisting my neck for a last look towards the counter. Candy's not looking my way, much too busy taking care of business and reliving the horror with each new customer. A final glance through the window, and I nearly jump out of my skin. An old man with a white stick has his face pressed up against the window. Is he staring at me? I need to get out of here, and as far away as possible. No one knows Jed, the cyclist lying on the ground, is my husband. But I feel all eyes are on me. Chapter 7. I scurry through the market, up the steep hill by the castle until I reach my car. My heart hammers from the effort. My hands are shaking so badly, I drop the key a couple of times before I manage to unzap the lock. The door of my bashed-up black Ford Fiesta cranks open, and I slip through the rusty gap. My phone is at the bottom of my bag, but I need to text Jed. I usually respond promptly to all his messages and don't want to change the pattern. He propped a note up against the toaster this morning, saying he didn't want to wake me when he left.
Text me once you've been to Mum's and let me know all okay. Love you. Kiss, 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 kiss.
Before I start the car, I key in a message. Hope you caught your train okay. Let me know when you reach Edinburgh. Got delayed getting to your mum's, but on my way. We'll soon be there. Talk later. Kiss, kiss. Leaving Kisses, with everything that's going on, doesn't come easily. Watching him visit another woman has been eating away at me. But I don't want him wondering what might be wrong if I leave them out. The more normal things seem, and the more regular our routine, the easier it'll be to cope. I'm trying to hide behind a seemingly normal facade, constantly trying to hide the worry, anxiety, and doubts. He has no idea what I'm going through, and the dreadful thoughts I'm having. Today, he was supposed to be on his way up to Edinburgh on business. I doubt he'll make it after what's happened, but I'll carry on as if nothing's happened. I have to sit it out. Maybe the accident will be the thing that pushes him to finally tell me what's been going on. I feel sick thinking about it. But for now, all I care about is that he'll be okay. Going round to see Blanche will at least keep me busy, take my mind off things. It'll give me something to do while I wait for news. Whenever I go and check on his mother, Jed phones her first to let her know what time I'll be there. He wants us all to get on and works hard at cementing cordial relations. He talks about how lucky he is to have the perfect family. Me and Blanche are all he needs. Funny, though. He leaves most of the minding of his mother up to me these days, despite his proclamations of devotion. I can't remember the last time he called round. My stomach knots when I think about it all. The car rattles, shakes, and judders as black smoke billows from the exhaust. I pull out into the steady stream of traffic, and Google Maps tells me I'm only 10 minutes away. At least the roadworks are finished. I'd like to drive faster, but no such luck. I'm grateful when my rust bucket starts, let alone picks up speed. I'm soon pulling into Miner's Terrace, which I've nicknamed Rotten Row. It's beyond depressing, with newly erected scaffolding around the properties at both ends. The windows of these properties have already been bricked up, the residents long gone. They were the first to leave. The bulldozers are ready and waiting. The mid-terrace houses are just as grim, with blackened brickwork and rotting door frames. Blanche is the last resident in occupancy. The developers are desperate for her to give up the fight and move out, as she's the only person still living there. But the developers will have a long wait, as she's determined to die in Pantry Cottage, the cozy name attached to her crumbling death trap of a home. The name might evoke cozy country images, but the reality is something else entirely. Pantry Cottage is a one-up, one-down 19th century mid-terrace minefield. The walls are crumbling, and the loosened cement between the brickwork rains down if anyone so much as breathes on it. I kill the ignition, and the car does a shivery death rattle. I'm wondering why Blanche hasn't one foot on the doorstep, the other still planted firmly inside, like she normally does when I pull up. Or why she isn't twitching behind the moth-eaten neck curtains. Today, there's no sign of her. Generally, if she's not in sight, she's hovering inside by the handset which is attached to the green flowery wallpaper. She waits for the bell to ring so she can speak into it and greet guests in a loud, imperious voice. That said, Jed and I have been her only guests for months now. I check my watch. I'm only 10 minutes late, and wonder if Blanche has already tried to contact her son to find out where I've got to. The thought makes me even more anxious than I am already. As I approach the gates, a man in a yellow hard hat appears out of nowhere and heads my way. He's wearing heavy-duty caterpillar boots and gripping a field trip-type clipboard.
Hi.
He smiles, all dazzling teeth and crinkly eyes, and offers an outstretched hand. I wonder who he thinks I am, as I haven't seen him before. Hi. I ignore the hand and lean mine instead atop the metal gate.
Are you visiting Mrs. Hardcastle?
This guy is smoothly handsome, and with his manicured nails and flawless tan, is certainly not one of the on-site labourers. More Saint-Tropez than home counties weather-beaten. His hard hat teases at a jaunty angle. He's like a kid battling the embarrassment of wearing a cycling helmet. Yes? Why? Is there a problem?
No, I'm just keen to speak to her.
He smiles again, perfect teeth glinting in the sunlight. Jed tells me Blanche won't answer the door to anyone except him, me, and the postman. I'm under strict instructions not to let anyone near her. Sorry, I can't help. I look away and start walking the few steps to the front door. I wonder if Blanche is watching what's going on, as this guy's appearance might explain why she's keeping well hidden.
Shall I hang around? Maybe you'd ask her if I could have a quick word.
He's not easily getting the message, and I'm desperate to get inside before he starts asking more questions. I'm already flustered. I can ask her. I'm not sure if he hears me, but he's still lingering. Blanche will definitely not want a quick word, and I need him to go away. His proximity makes me uneasy. I wait until he's moved off, proceed to the front door, and rap gently with the brass knocker. Flakes of rotting paint drizzle to the ground. I peer in through the small glass panel to one side, shielding my eyes against the sun. There doesn't seem to be any movement downstairs. I step back and look up, but still no sign of life. My heart bakes up as I get a sense something's not right. Blanche is always waiting eagerly for me to turn up. Mr. Hunky Foreman is watching from a few houses down. I dig out Blanche's spare key from my bag, desperate now to get inside. If there's something wrong, or Blanche has had a fall or worse, and I can't get hold of Jed, I dread to think that far ahead. Chapter 8. The unopened mail has been stacked neatly on the hall table. The sight gives me momentary comfort. Blanche? Blanche, are you here? I close the door tightly behind me and pull the bolt across, just in case. My voice quavers in the quietness. The house is like a morgue. I peek into the lounge, which looks surprisingly tidy. It's also had a recent coat of polish over the mahogany surfaces. I cough when the cleaning abrasives hit the back of my throat. Blanche? The kitchen is even more spotless than the lounge. There isn't a dish, cup, or single piece of cutlery sitting out, and the stainless steel sink is sparkling. It's like an advert for Mr. Muscle. Blanche isn't slovenly, far from it, but she's not the tidiest either. She snaps at Jed, tells him to stop fussing when he tries to start the dishwasher. She only switches it on when it's loaded to the brim. I doubt she'll be in the utility room, and even less likely in the cellar. I brace myself to have a look. The stone stairs to the basement are treacherous, even for Jed and me, let alone Blanche. A quick scan, and there's still no sign of her. She must still be in bed, and as I head up, the stairs creak. An unusual, sickly scent of air freshener sets my cough off again. There's no hint of the usual musty, damp smell. Blanche? I push open her bedroom door, And although the curtains aren't closed all the way, the room is morbidly dark. The windows are so small that light battles to get in even with the curtains open. But today, it's almost pitch black. Blanche is slumped on the bed, barely visible under her flimsy bedding. She's lying at a really awkward angle, white, bony toes poking out from under the off-white sheet. At least her eyes are open.
Izzy.
Her voice is even hoarser than mine.
Is that you?
I pull back the curtain so I can see her. She looks dreadful, like a corpse. Yes, it's me. You're okay. I'm here now. I take her hand, which is deathly cold, yet her forehead is dripping in sweat. Blanche, you're not well. I need to call a doctor, I say. She tugs back her hand and snaps.
No, doctors. I'm fine.
Her voice is like a foghorn. She looks far from fine. Perhaps she's got COVID, or flu, or worse. I've no idea what to do. Let me call Jed. I know I'm unlikely to get hold of him, but I can't think of anyone else to call, apart from an ambulance. Blanche's eyes are like a hawk's as I key in his number, but it goes to voicemail. I was hoping he might pick up. Who am I kidding? He's more likely lying unconscious in a hospital bed. I leave a message anyway, so that Blanche can hear me. My words are shaky. Jed, get back to me, please. Blanche isn't well, and I don't know what to do. She stares at me, listening intently to what I say. She slumps back against her pillow once I've hung up. Can I get you anything? Tea? A soft drink? Some toast, perhaps?
There's soup in the fridge. Could you heat me some up?
She whispers, as if the earlier snapping has sapped all her energy. Of course.
It's homemade.
Blanche's voice is weak but clear. Oh, when did you make it? I ask, suspecting the soup might be well past its sell-by date.
I didn't make it,
Blanche says, then puffs out a weak laugh.
It was Madison.
Madison? Who the heck is Madison? I get an uneasy feeling. Jed hasn't mentioned anyone called Madison. Although, come to think of it, he did mention a few weeks ago that he might get his mother a regular cleaner. Why didn't he tell me? He might have forgotten, but I'm not convinced. It feels like a deliberate oversight. He used to tell me everything, without me ever having to ask. He knows I don't like to ask questions. My stomach somersaults, and I come over nauseous. The overload of coffee, lack of food, and shock are not a good mix.
My new cleaner. She does a great job.
Blanche wheezes, breathless from talking.
Didn't Jet tell you about her?
Her croak follows me out the door and back down the stairs. Chapter 9. I feed Blanche a small dish of chicken soup, wash her face and neck, and make sure she's comfortable before I tiptoe out of her room. A gentle, rhythmic vibration of her lips tells me she's sleeping. I've no idea what else I can do. According to Blanche, the cleaner, Madison, whoever she is due back tomorrow morning. Hopefully, Blanche will be okay until then. When I step back out into the glare of the sunlight, thankfully there's no sign of Mr. Hardhat. I spread my fingers across my forehead to shield my eyes and scour the street. It's the first time I notice a large hoarding attached to the scaffolding at one end of the terrace. I'm not sure if it's been erected since I was inside or if it was already there. My mind is all over the place. Bailey Finch Construction. My first thought is to wonder if Mr. Hardhat might be Bailey or Finch. Despite the heat, I'm shivering when I climb into my car. It does its usual choking splutter before kicking into gear. It's already midday by the time I get home. My head is pounding and anxiety is hitting me in waves. There's still been nothing from Jed. No messages, no calls, and the image of the accident plays in a loop in my head. I've no idea how to get it to stop. While I'm waiting for news, the best thing I can do is work. The day is almost half over and I haven't even started on my weekly column. I don't know how I'll concentrate, but I have to try. I'm not hungry, but know I need to eat. I cut up some cold chicken and throw it between 2 doughy slices of bread. Hopefully it'll settle my stomach and help sop up the coffee. I'm beyond jittery. I carry the sandwich and a bottle of water through to the study and close the curtains before trying to settle into the darkened space. A single lamp keeps me company. My den is kitted out like a mini library. Jed helped me put up shelving, floor to ceiling, on the 3 walls that don't have windows. They're stacked high with all manner of books. The site is like an oasis, and when I close the door, lock myself in, my mind slowly calms. Every few minutes, I check my phone for messages. There's still nothing. Not even a love heart or coffee cup emoji. Usually, when Jed travels up to Edinburgh, he sends so many texts that I've no time to reply before another one arrives. He starts texting even before his train has pulled out of King's Cross. After what happened this morning, I'm not expecting anything, but it doesn't stop me checking. The blank screen makes my imagination run riot, and I'm imagining all sorts. What if something really bad has happened? What if he can't walk again? Or worse still, what happens if... I can't allow myself to think of the worst-case scenario. Life wouldn't be worth living without Jed. I open my laptop, knowing that I need to gear my brain for work, take my mind off things. But it's too tempting to Google local news before I start. The accident replays on a loop in my mind, as if in slow motion. There must have been a resounding thump on the pavement when he landed, but I heard nothing through the window. Did he scream before he hit the ground? I scroll through Twitter feeds, articles, recent news, local updates, but nothing. The bicycle accident might not be top priority, but surely there would be something if it really was that serious. No news must be good news, right? If Jed had died, surely it would already have got out. Candy would have spread the word through the local grapevine and a prolific poster on all her social media feeds. I check her Instagram story and posts, but so far, nothing. When I can't find any news about the accident, I tackle the sandwich. I chew each bite a dozen times before I can swallow. It takes the whole bottle of water to get it down. Curiosity has got the better of me, and I do a final bit of Googling before I tackle my email mountain. Bailey Finch Construction isn't hard to find. And there he is, Mr. Hardhat, MD, smiling for the camera with photo shoot perfection. Minus the headwear, dark, luscious hair swirls across his forehead. His trimmed beard is shadowy and adds to the machismo and mystery. He is handsome, attractive in an obvious way. His name is Adam Finch, and after a few more minutes Googling, I find him on Facebook and LinkedIn. He's single, which strikes me as odd as he's the sort I imagine getting snapped up fast. Adam Finch is the type of guy Jed hates. Arrogant and too good-looking by half. Whenever someone like Adam crosses our path, Jed grips my hand more tightly, and it makes me love him even more. Chapter 10. I finally open up my agony column emails. There's another 54 letters. People are desperate to get things off their chest, and sharing in public seems to help. That said, I don't believe a lot of what they tell me. There's always a rich smattering of stories involving bondage, handcuffs, and police truncheons. When we first got together, Jed devoured my columns, as if hoping to learn something new about me every week. I can't remember when his interest waned, but then I can't remember when he became a completely different person. My Jed. My soulmate. Where did he go? I have a list of content that